And welcome back to another episode of The Average White Guys. My name's Alex Haynes, one of the owners of A Squared, and we're a marketing company helping people learn how to take their marketing to the next level and get noticed online. And I'm here with the illustrious, amazing, good looking, good smelling, happy go lucky Justin Scouten from LW. Say hi, Justin.
Hey everybody, I'm Justin with LW Properties Community Real Estate Services.
We are so excited to be here with you all today, or y'all, because I'm in a really good mood. I'm going to have Justin tell us what our podcast is all about. And before we do that, real quick, you're used to our podcast being very structured. Today's a little bit more open conversation. So get ready for that. Justin, what are we going to converse about?
The arduous art of hiring.
Man, see that 5 times fast. No, don't, because then we'd have to edit that. So we are talking about the art of hiring, and the entire business world went meh. Sorry, guys. We know off the bat this doesn't sound like a super exciting concept, but I think every business who ever wants to grow will have to deal with this. And we thought this would be a good conversation. Specifically, Justin, you had some things you wanted to talk about, and I kind of want to get into this a little bit. But first, tell me a little bit what's going on in your business and what this podcast is going to be about today.
Yeah, it's a hard world out there right now to hire. Just to give you an example of what I had to go through on my last hiring is I went through Indeed, ended up getting about 400 applicants in. I narrowed that down to about 200 that were even felt decent. Then from there, I had to narrow it down to about 50, and then from there to 10. And even there, it was hard. Then I had to do phone interviews with it, and just to set up who I might even want to talk to in office. And from there, the questions and answer period, some of them you're getting like, I don't know. And that's a good question. Yeah, I really don't have an answer for you on that one. And it's just difficult out there to hire right now and to find good applicants. And so that's why we brought up this podcast, is because what are the struggles out there? And just knowing as a small business that you're not the only one going through this, especially in different fields. We belong to a networking group, and I talked to a lot of them in there, and they're like, yeah, just trying to find good help out there is very difficult right now. That's what we're going to be talking about today.
So, to our viewers, we usually like to start with a little bit of a story, a little bit of a background. Today, we're going to do a little things different. But I did want to jump into something, and I do want to start this podcast being open and honest. We've only hired a few people ourselves. One worked out really well, one not so great. They did their own thing right now. We wish them the best. It just didn't work, or we didn't hire correctly. But I did learn something, and I constantly talk about my dad in this podcast, and he's a font of wisdom. I'm very lucky to have a father who was really wise. What a lot of you don't know is he worked for the U.S. government for many, many, many years. He got really high up, and he actually coined a phrase that I will remember because he taught me something called hire hard. Hire hard is kind of different in today's world because there's a lot of different hiring techniques that don't necessarily make sure that you're hiring the right person. You're just trying to find someone to fill a slot. Sometimes you're trying to do check boxes, whatever. I'm not getting into the politics of all that. But he coined a phrase called hire hard. And he found out that if you hire hard or make it a little bit more difficult versus just hit some check boxes, you ask tougher questions, you really dig into the person, really understand how they think. Some companies in the past have done this really well. They don't do this anymore. We've seen their production actually fall because of this, but like Google used to do this, Amazon used to do this, where you would not just do a typical interview, but you would ask really unique, bizarre questions. Some people would have a test. There's something called the coffee cup test, where you take someone out to lunch, and then afterwards you actually take your dishes into this sink in the back area, and the owner will wash the dishes and see what the other person will do, and that will determine how hardworking they are. There's a lot of these little different tests out there, and this comes from the concept of this hard concept of hiring hard, which is not a typical interview process, but instead you're asking hard, critical questions. You're digging into how the person thinks, what they do, and it's all based on what you as an employer value or need from that employee. So he talked about how he did this to such a good extent in the government that they actually started comparing his employees to other people, right? In the organization. I'm not gonna say what the organization is because I don't want us to get censored or canceled. But it's a well-known government agency, and they found that his employees were 50 to 75% more likely to get raises and acclamations and bonuses than anybody else. This was so successful, they asked him to actually create a workbook so other people and other employers could actually put this into practice. The other organization parts that did this also saw a huge increase in getting the right people in, and their employees start getting raises and acclamations and getting bonuses because they chose to do this. And we're going to talk a little bit about the concept of there's two things I want to talk about with Justin today: the art of hiring hard, and also the art of creating a culture to get more than the financial dollar you have, right? Because a lot of times businesses like me, like Justin, we're competing in a world where most people say money, how much you're going to pay me an hour, is the most important thing. There's actually studies where that's not true. Another great statement my dad would always say, and he drilled into me, it's all about the bennies. It's all about the benefits. And if you understand people who do really well inside of a business structure, they will also say, and a lot of people who like do these hiring things, they will say benefits can be the huge difference between getting someone who's okay and someone who's amazing, because they understand the value of what benefits can bring to them, because a lot of times benefits are not taxable, right? And benefits can help improve someone's life more than just a dollar amount. And there's also something to be said about creating a culture that empowers people to want to work for you even for less money. So, Justin, talk to us a little bit about what's going on and see if we can talk about some of these with your current situation.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how you mentioned the hire hard. And when we were preparing for this episode, I was like, yeah, that's easy if you are a government agency and you have the money. I always mention Alex and Leila Hermosi, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. And one of the things that they always bring up is like, oh yeah, we can spend $250,000 and be very particular on the CEO or the quality of people we're hiring. But this podcast is more about the maybe startup entrepreneurs or those who've been in it for a while still, but are just struggling with those options. And it's not always easy to be able to offer those kind of salaries, know what owners or know what the employees are wanting as far as those benefits. So that's what I find difficult as well. We have some of the things that are kind of basic out there that you have to have now is, we have 401ks, which we match. We have medical, eye, and dental as well that we help with is on that aspect of it. We end up doing they only work a 7.5 hour workday and get paid for 8. So a little bonus we try to there to where you start a half hour early. And it's still just hard when you're in the interview though to find out what somebody wants. And so I think that's the more difficult part that I would like to hear from some of your experience that you heard from your dad about hard hiring, because you have to know what they want to draw them in. And how do you get through that to somebody in an interview is very difficult.
That's a great question. I think one of the things that I learned from listening to as many stories, and I think you brought up something I want to touch on. Um, we're going to start with his hiring pool. So my dad would go to colleges that were very specialized in the one thing he was looking for, which was he went to the Rochester Institute of Technology because that's his alma mater. That's where he graduated from. So he knew what they were being taught. He understood what they were learning, and he understood what certain degrees he was looking for the very specific job he wanted to fill. So instead of going to something like LinkedIn or what was the company you went with?
Indeed.
Indeed, he went to a very specific place he knew he was going to get qualified people. So he changed where he was fishing. That's the first thing he did. So I think, yes, using Indeed, using LinkedIn is great for getting exactly what you got. You got 400 applicants, but you got 400 applicants and you had no idea what their background is. Where if you change your fishing pool or you change your fishing pond, excuse me, and go after the very specific people you need, which is going to be slightly difficult for smaller businesses to start, but I could say really understand who you're looking for or what you need and the type of people you need. You can kind of work backwards. You can go, what have my best employees been, or who am I looking for? What type of degrees do I want them? Do you even want them to get degrees? We actually found out that we prefer with working with people who haven't been to college, when it comes to our business. We got them right out of high school. Much easier to train people and how we do things versus people go to art school.
Yeah.
I've had people coming out of art school asking for 100, 200K out the door, never having worked on a project and going, "You're insane. There's no way we're going to pay you that. You don't have any proof body of work."
One of the things that we are starting to look for is when I go to some of the restaurants around town, because ours is all about customer service is the main part. I mean, you have to know your word, your outlook, those type of, and how to compose an email to make sure you are, getting your point across. Those are all important things. But on the other hand, our customer service is what we're really looking for. How do you handle that customer that's yelling at you, keep a calm demeanor, and to be able to just talk to them back in civil when they're here yelling at you and maybe cussing at you? And so one of the things that I've been thinking about doing more is just going to some of the restaurants, hiring waiters, waitresses, going to hotels, trying to find people in the customer service business there. But again, that's not so easy because if you're going to a college, like you said, for technology, you are going into a specific trade. And they already want to get into a specific field. To where with our field, HOA management, nobody ever talks about it. I don't even think you knew what HOA management was until I ended up talking to you about it. So it's a field where you're kind of going, yeah, come work with me for HOA management. What is that? So that's some of the difficulties to find in the real application of that.
So I think you're absolutely right. That real application is going to be difficult for certain businesses. For you, an example, I think you have the perfect idea. I think going and poaching people who are already in the industry you do well is going to be great. You have to remember, especially, I think waitressing and waitresses are an amazing people to go after because a lot of them do not like their job. Some people do love their job because they're really good at it. They make good tips, but some of them want to transition into working in an office. They don't want to be on their feet all the time. And I think giving them a job that could turn into a career is a huge benefit for that. So even though you're going to these restaurants and poaching, I think you may have found your fishing pond, so to speak, because you're looking exactly, you're taking that step, like I said, looking for those people, looking for that very unique characteristic. Everything else you said, emails, how to answer phones, all that can be trained. Someone can learn that. You can teach someone those things. You can't teach someone how to be good at customer service.
Or you can teach them how to use ChatGPT, right?
Absolutely. ChatGPT is amazing. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But the reality, I think you're absolutely right. Finding those people for some businesses is going to be a little hard. And I think there are stories and things I've read where people have done that. They've gone, found amazing waiters, not only tip them more well, then go, "Hey, let me tip you well. Have you thought about leaving your job? Do you want to come work for me?" And making an offer on that spot, getting an interest. "Hey, are you interested? Who are you the people you like to work with here?" Is the next question. Who would you like to bring with you to work in an office? Because great waiters and waitresses also know the best other waiters and waitresses at that business. And yeah, you're going to steal someone's great waitress or waiter. Sucks to be them. But the reality is, you got the person you need and you're going to give them a career. A lot of times, waitressing isn't a career, it's a layover to a career. Not to say that people who make a career out of it don't have a great career, but the reality is, most of them are looking for more. Most of them don't have a matching 401k. The stuff you offer, the benefits, is that next step up. So let me talk about the next thing you can create to make what you offer seem more valuable than the dollars you have. And I've seen this work over and over again, especially for nonprofits. You know, most nonprofits pay like 50% less than everyone else. They just don't have the money. You and I both know most nonprofits aren't super rich. They're paying people significantly less, and people with great skills are working for them. Do you know how they do that?
Teach me.
They do this by creating culture. They have a mission statement. They have a thing they're doing. They're going to go help people, help the community, champion a problem. They have created a culture which drives people to one particular mission that makes them feel fulfilled inside, and it has nothing to do with how much they get paid and how much they can help somebody else. You can create culture, and every business can do this. This is why, even though Google is paying a ton of money, people wanted to work with Google. People were doing internships and working for Google for free because they wanted to be part of that culture. They wanted a chance to say, "I worked with Google." They wanted a chance to say, "I worked with Apple." As you know, Google and Apple have very unique identities. They have very unique things they built inside. They have crazy things which small businesses can't do. We're not going to be able to have sleeping centers and gyms in our place and but they created a unique culture. There's simple things you can do that can create a culture. Great example for you. You think health is really important, right?
Yep.
How little would it cost to add a health culture benefit? When you work with us, not only do you do get all this extra stuff, we're going to pay for a gym membership to this gym. We're going to set you up with X, Y, and Z supplements. We're going to set up with X, Y, and Z food bonus or whatever it is to make sure you can live a healthy life because we believe body, mind, soul. So we're going to make sure that your body's taken care of by adding these extra things because we believe in a culture of making sure you get taken care of. It may only cost you 50 to $100 more a person, but that no one else offers. Very few people offer a gym membership to their employees. That could be the thing that pushes you over. I guarantee you that person working at Denny's isn't getting a free gym membership, right?
Yeah.
So doing things like that and creating a culture where the benefits outweigh the amount of money. Yeah, you could give them the $20, but they're not going to spend the $20 on a gym membership. If you give it to them as part of the package, it's that bonus, it's that extra, it's that we care for you that's going to pull them over. And as a small business, there's a lot of things. Think about everyone at our group that we go to, B&I. Think about all the people that have there. Have you ever thought about leveraging any of them for a discount for your employees as a free benefit, which costs you absolutely nothing? Hey, I work with all these people. I can give you X, Y, and Z percentage off because we work with these people as a free benefit to you. That could equal thousands and thousands of dollars in savings to them.
Yeah, no, I love the content that you're giving me. It is great, and it's making the wheels spin in my head of the squirrel. And still not an easy concept though when you are trying to bring them in a field that nobody wants to join. And I'm not saying they don't want to, but they don't know about it, so they don't have an interest in it. And where I go with that, let's go back to your nonprofit. Yes, it's easier, I think, in a nonprofit to get maybe that 50% less salary because they already have a mission wanting to go into there. They know what the nonprofit is dealing with. It may be saving the whales, it may be saving a certain endangered bird. So they're able to go with less because of the fact of that person already has that mission of wanting to do that. That's what goes at least in my head when you bring that up. And then as far as some of the other things like the health benefits, I love the fact that you brought that up. I haven't thought of that. Like you said, I use supplements. I don't know how to bring that to their attention if that doesn't pique their interest during the interview.
Those are both great statements. So first, I would say something that's going to sound strange, and I apologize for what I'm about to say. I think you need to readdress the thought process that people aren't interested in what you do. Yes, people don't know about it. You're not YouTube, you're not Instagram, you're not Apple, you're not Google. There's a ton of businesses out there no one's ever heard about doing things that are mundane every day. Most people are not looking to work for those companies. Most people just want a better job where they're valued and listened to. I can't tell you how many conversations I had with people who say the following words: I hate my boss. I hate my job. I hate X, Y, and Z. Culture is a huge thing. I know people have taken half the salary and moved to a company that was totally different than what they were doing because they found a better culture. It is not about people looking to work in the HOA industry. You're not going to find those, most likely. You may find one. They're going to be super, super weird. Let's be honest. They grew up with they're very nerdy and they just think HOA is the best thing in the world. That's probably going to be super rare. You're not looking for people who want to work in the HOA industry. I would challenge you, stop thinking like that. I would say, find people who want to help people. Find nurturers. Find people who care about people and want to make a better experience. You can sell them on anything. We've talked about this. How do you sell a pencil? You don't sell a pencil, you sell benefits. You sell the benefits of what a pencil can do. You can sell the benefit of how a mechanical pencil is better than the number 2 pencil and why. And then you could do a whole series on that. You don't have to sell someone and look for someone who wants to get into the HOA industry. If you're looking for that, there's a reason you're not finding that. They don't exist most likely, or it's such a small group, you're only going to find be very frustrated. Instead, if you go, hey, I'm just looking for people who love customer service, want to get into a new, exciting, different industry, because let's be honest, it's not super high stress in your industry.
Mm.
It's office. Well, I'm saying it's not super high stress compared to like working in construction or working with people who do construction and have to like balance millions of dollars, right? They're going to get paid fairly well. They're going to be sitting at a desk doing phone calls. They get to help people. They're not racing around town. They don't have to necessarily travel for the job. It's a very low stress job compared to other things. It's not like they have to learn a whole bunch of new tasks. It's not going to be they need a college education to do this. They need basic writing skills and a few other things you're going to teach them. It's a job that has growth. If they want to learn more and do more, there's room for growth. Are all these things probably correct?
Yes, definitely room for growth, definitely room for potential, and for the training as well.
See, all these things are benefits to people who are looking for a change. Don't look for people who want HOA jobs. Look for people who want a different culture. Look for people who want to help people and show them the amazing world of HOA management.
So part of the problem though is I guess finding the location still. And the reason I bring that up is the location of like where to find them from is what I mean by that statement. And the reason I say that is when I end up explaining to them in interviews, it's like, look, I've had two people here that have been here for over 15 years. And the only reason they are leaving right now is one, because one is just retiring, getting out of the industry, and the other one was going through some health problems. Otherwise, they would still be in this, they'd be still working here. And I can see people perk up because they're like, oh, 15 years, that's a, they must be happy working here because they're there that long. At least that's how I feel about it, and I find most people feel about it. But it's still, so I can pique their interest. I can tell them the benefits, and I bring others in from our company to help in the interviews as well, so they kind of get their viewpoint because I put them on the spot. What do you like about being here? So they can get a hands-on of what others in here are interested in. And it still comes down to that where do you find them is going to be the harder thing that I'm going to have to work on. And I'm not expecting a better answer because you gave some good answers to me, but it's just as owners, that's what we need to start focusing on then, where to find those people.
So, one other piece of information I think is important to this that I think you're missing, and you're not going to like my answer because we've talked about this and the importance of this. You have not posted a lot of social media content, and you know where I was going with this.
What?
So here's the cool thing when it comes to content. Remember, we talked about different reasons you want to post content. By posting content regularly for any business out there, showing the behind the scenes, showing who you are, what you're all about, your stories, telling better stories, and all this isn't just to help sell and get new clients. It also shows people what you're all about. And when you don't have a lot of content out there, or you have a really small website that doesn't really explain what you do, um, and gives you a lot of backstory about who you are and like the environment and the awesomeness of who you guys are, it's hard to sell that in an interview because they have nothing to look at. Yes, they're going to hear the stories, but it's not like they can go watch a bunch of fun videos and get to know you through another point of view. Might be something to consider. And I think you nailed this on the head. It is going to be hard. There's always going to be one aspect that's going to be harder. Great example of this. Nonprofits have a hard time at getting tech people, people who do social, people who do live broadcasts, because people are getting paid significantly more than what they can afford. And I'll be honest, sometimes it's about the money. Sometimes you have to pony up. And there's going to be something, and we're going to just be honest with this. Sometimes you have to understand you have to pay more money. Sometimes you have to add that better benefit. Like you said, how do I know that's going to be a benefit they like? You don't. But then again, if they do like it, I'll be honest with you, it's one more thing you have in common with them, one more way you can personally connect with them as the owner, and that's going to be beneficial. The other thing, and I think you're doing this, but I would say you may want to really drill down into this to all our business owners. Asking the right question at the very beginning, not the end, is going to help filter people out. Asking unique, hard questions is going to help filter people out. Like you said, you went from 400 to 10. What if you didn't go from 400 to 10? What if you started at 10? Would that have made a difference?
If you have the right quality of who you are already getting in the door for those.
So this is very difficult to do. And I don't have an easy one-page give it to you solution. Because if I did, I'd probably make a lot more money. What if you asked hard questions to start with? What if the beginning part of the interview was difficult? There's something called buy-in. I'm going to say that again because I made a noise. There's something called buy-in. And we've talked about this as a sales technique where you buy into a product before you're ever sold and you want the product before you even hear the price. A long time ago in a land far, far away, I worked selling DirecTV. I was one of those guys at Costco that came up to you and go, hey, who do you have for cable? Let me show you how we can give you a better product. And one of the things we would do is we would physically hand you a piece of paper, show you some stuff, and then I would take it away from you. That is an actual sales technique. There is a buy-in. The moment I give you something, you have something in your hands. Justin, do you like when someone tries to take something out of your hands?
Not at all.
You have buy-in. You want the thing in your hand. And if I remove it, there's a fear of missing out. There's a fear of loss. But you gave that to me. Give it back. Well, I'm happy to give you this back if you sign here. This is your new price. So it's a sales technique. It's something called buy-in. You can create buy-in. You can create it difficult where you not only filter out a bunch of people who are just not going to be the right person to begin with, make it difficult, make them jump through those hoops, make it feel like, oh my goodness, I want this job. I've jumped through all these hoops. I'm going to win this job. It's a totally reversal of what it was before. Now you're making people work for it. Now they're invested in getting this job.
All right. No, I like the idea, and what I lost what I was going to say.
Take a second.
Talking. Yeah, sorry.
That's the right question. Yeah.
Yeah. You said something at the very beginning of that I was going to hit on, and then I forgot it.
Asking the right question is going to be difficult. Figuring out the question is the hard one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, figuring out the right question for the right, I think in the right atmosphere is going to be the difficult one. And the hard part is if you ask the hard question from the beginning, do you really get to know them? And the reason I say that is because I've gone through a lot of interviews over the last 10 years. And as much as, yes, a good hard question is good for an interview, if you don't get them relaxed and you're starting them out from the beginning, is that do they get to know you as well then? Because I think that's part of it. And one of the questions that I used to ask, or actually, sorry, my CEO at the time used to ask when I was like, why do you ask that question? And it was, how many gas stations are in the city of Vacaville? And you would see their heads spinning, and most, if they said, I don't know, you're kind of like, okay, well, that's not a good answer at all because you're not even thinking. You could say 2 and I don't care. At least you gave me an answer. And we've asked that at the beginning of an interview. And the whole time now, all they're still thinking about is how to answer that question. And you don't get to really get to know them and the person that they are because it's all about personalities. And are you going to have that right personality, that connection? And so as much as a good hard question is good, I personally think it should be saved to the end to see now that they're comfortable, they let their guards down, do they know how to reply to that?
Let me ask you a hard question about that hard question. I think that's a great question, but it's the wrong question for you. You can get a hard question answered so you understand how they think and then tell them why you asked that question. The problem with that question you gave me was there was no follow up to that question. He didn't explain why he asked that question. to you during the interview. So they're always thinking about it. If you go, oh, that's cool. Here's why I asked. Suddenly, they're not thinking about that anymore. Their mentality of how the interview shifts dramatically when you give them that second bit of information. That type of question is exactly how Google and Amazon were hiring some of the best people. They would ask bizarre questions. You're stuck on the island with these 5 things. How do you get home? There was no right answer.
Right answer. Yeah.
You don't want a right answer. What you're looking for is how do people think? I think at the very beginning of this session, to all business owners out there, and I do this with social media when it comes to making sales, finding the right fishing pond. And I say this often. If you find the right place to fish, you will get exactly what you need. Because when you find the right place to fish, what you also use to catch those fish is going to change. So whether you use LinkedIn or Monster, whatever it is, the questions you ask is going to be radically different than if you go to a waitress at Denny's and looking for that special person, because it's a different environment and you're looking for different things. You've already isolated at a Denny's or an IHOP or whatever it is, or wherever you're going. Hey, this person works really well with people. That line of question can be vastly different than you're saying, hey, I'm looking to fill a job. 400 people are interested in the job. Asking that hard question is going to instantly get rid of half of them. Half the people aren't actually looking for real work. They're just putting an application, they're putting out hundreds of applications, hoping to get a bite. And then when someone reaches out back to them, they decide if they want to do the job or not.
So I think the biggest takeaway that I have from this discussion today is, and yes, you're going to laugh, is it comes down to more of that social media. That hit home to me where if I did that more often, it would help. I'm not involved with Facebook, I'm not involved with LinkedIn, and I think those things would start to help. So if I was to give that takeaway to any entrepreneur or small business owner that's trying to interview, that's a good avenue to start down instead of the Indeed aspect of it, because you might be able to narrow down your field a little bit more. People that are already on there are already people that are maybe in the business world in the aspect of sales reps, things like that. So thank you for the advice.
I hoped to our business owners out there, this was a helpful conversation. Like I said, it's a little bit different than we've had before. We thought this was timely, especially with what's going on in the world. It is difficult to find good people, and especially with some of the prices, like we're in California, the idea of hiring hourly employees has gotten way more expensive. So finding the right people is super valuable and important. So we want to end this with obviously a little bit of encouragement. You are not alone. Just like Justin and I have said, this is a difficult thing. If you're a business owner trying to find people, good people, you're not alone. It's hard to find good help. That is a real thing. But don't give up, because the right person is just around the corner. Find your spot where you can get those type of people. Ask those hard questions. Be okay with taking a little bit more time finding that person. And once you get them, figure out what they want and give it to them. It may not just be financial. It may be those extra benefits. It may be showing a little bit of care. It may be creating a culture which is just more fun, more exciting, more relaxing than anywhere else. We believe in you. We believe you can change the world and help someone. So this week, go say hi to someone, help someone, give a little bit to your nonprofit, and make the world a little bit better place. We'll see you in another episode. We are
The Average White Guys.